a certified facilities manager. So I provide real estate solutions, currently working with the Kenya Power Pension.
Gabriel Achai is my name. I've been with AYLF since day one. Yes, and that's what I do. I'm part of the AYLF team. Glad to be here.
How many years?
15 years.
Fantastic.
16 actually, yes. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome.
Good evening. My name is Edward Owino. I currently work at Green Africa Group. I do business development and marketing. I've been with AYLF since 4 years, 2019.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Cyrus Boniface Wambua. I'm currently working at the Nairobi Hospital at medical field. And I'm a friend for the last 30 minutes too.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joy Kalua, and I am a social entrepreneur, specifically in the automotive industry. I avail Kenyans with electric vehicles, any fuel-efficient vehicles. Yes, and AYLF I'm here in support, but I'm willing to learn more and learn how to join. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name's Michelle Kalua, and I work under Green Africa Group under the hospitality sector. And I have been with AYLF since he has been there.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Julia Kalua, and I asked my friend here that I could speak before him because I know he has a very long resume with AYLF. I work with Green Africa Group. I'm a partner with a Thailand group it's called SEG. And I'm glad to be joining here today for the first time with this group and looking forward to many, many more events with y'all.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Bwana Chairman.
Walete membership form.
Ndio maana umekaa hapo.
Yes. My name is Felix, Lon Felix. I've been with AYLF for 12 years. I currently work with one of the UN agencies as a development advisor.
Hello, my name is Kimeo Philip, economics and statistics by profession, currently working at AYLF as the operations coordinator.
Awesome.
Good evening. My name is Machango Msangi. I run programs. I'm your host today.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Now that he said he's the host, I must say I'm the female host. Karibu sana. My name is Beryl Maritim. I'm in communications and marketing, and I also work at AYLF.
Awesome.
Hi guys, my name is Maulid Omar. I work with Salam mentoring program in AYLF. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think the format changed here. Guys are not saying the years. My name is Joshua Mukua Nyantika, and I work with the National Prayer Breakfast and also run a startup called Pikzangu. Thank you. I've been a member of AYLF from 2013, so that makes it 10 years.
10 years. Awesome.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Zach Kariuki. I'm in commodities and construction. I've been with AYLF for 1 year actually. I was introduced to AYLF through Duncan. So this is actually my 1 year anniversary, so to speak. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good evening, friends. Good evening.
Good evening.
Please wave at me. Thank you. My name is Jacqueline Waithaka. I'm a finance manager by profession. I work with the County Assemblies Forum. I've been with AYLF from 2014 when we were being nurtured as young African leaders. And I thank God for this opportunity. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Tony Nyaga. I'm an engineer by profession and an entrepreneur as well. Currently, we are exporting fruits to UAE and Europe as well. Yeah, a pleasure to. I think I'm younger than Linus. I think I'm 24 minutes in my AYLF, yeah.
Njiru, I am in IT telecommunications, working for a company called Infobip, helping them with their growth in Africa, working with Duncan, and I am here as his friend to support him. He is my colleague.
Watu wa media, I hope me record you. I need to send it to HQ. Huh? Okay. Hey, Mike ilienda nje. Huh? Okay. Introduce yourself and then pass it along.
Good evening. My name is Harrison Ochieng. I work at Green Africa Group. I believe I'm a member of AYLF by association. That is being around Dr. Green and Lon Felix. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Lena Kitavi, Head of Communications, Green Africa Group. It's my second year knowing AYLF, and it's always a pleasure to meet all of you. Thank you.
Awesome.
To pass this. So I think it's here.
Okay. Emmanuel, you can just use without the mic now that you passed it along.
Hi everyone.
Yeah, there's two more here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jude Thaddeus. I'm in events business, also do some other things on the side on matters governance and leadership. I've been in AYLF for 7 years now. I was actually introduced by that gentleman called Lon Felix. Although I had met quite a number of people before that, including Gabriel, and by virtue of being a student leader back in the days. Yeah.
Awesome. And then there's one more person here.
Oh my God. Hi everyone. My name is Mutua Samuel. Been with AYLF for 2 years. Yeah, from Egerton. Manu has been my leader. Thank you.
Fantastic. So at least now you know, you have an idea of who is in the room. So let me tell you what is acceptable. Like I don't remember your name. Can you remind me your name? I just know you work for Equity or something like that. So it's okay to say that during dinner. Over to you, MC.
All right, let's appreciate Duncan. All right. Yes, my name is Emmanuel Kioko Maundu, also known as MC Neb. I am an MC, and I'm also a counselor in training. Yes, I am passionate about mentorship, especially for the boy child. And I've been in AYLF for 7 years now. 7. Time is flying. What? All right, so thank you very much. So at this juncture, I want to welcome Gabriel. We call him Bishop sometimes. He doesn't like that name. We call him the Bishop of AYLF. So put your hands together as Gabriel comes on stage, tafadhali. Yes, so how does it feel, Gabriel? 15 years? Yeah?
Well, yeah, you ask me. Sometimes I can't believe it. It's been this almost 16 years now. I was telling Steve there that by next year, March, we'll officially be celebrating 16 years of being at this journey. And it's a joy to do this. Some of you have seen you for long. Some of you have been around for long, have been committed to this journey, to this process. And so this year, we decided to do something special for our alumni and just get them together and let's have a conversation, because every year we do one joint dinner with students. And Ketinja was there last year, the one we did, and in many ways, and she's holding her head, in many ways she was feeling like, I'm so out of place. Am I correct? Because we have the student dinner, the one that student will attend on Saturday, and they come with a lot of energy. They are young, they are vibrant, and sometimes some of our alumni were feeling like, should I also be dancing the way they are dancing, or should I just sit and watch? And I remember there's a dinner we had. Mutis, I don't know if you remember that dinner. Welcome, sir. Welcome, welcome. You're most welcome. I remember there's a dinner we had, and they took a photo of us because it was Mutiso, myself, my wife. I think Eda was also there. Who else was seated there? Alan Mwangi was also seated there. And then they took a photo of us, and there's something they said about how old we are, and we are feeling out of place. Yeah, because we look like we were the elders at that dinner. Welcome, Mr. Cosma. Mr. Cosma is very important to this journey, and at some point we'll probably give him a chance to say he's the chairman of the AYLF Trust, which now has changed, and we'll learn about that change. So we felt like in order to avoid this habit of our alumni feeling out of place, let's create a space where they can come and have their conversations as alumni and engage at that level where they are now at a different space. Their challenges are not the same. With the guys who are struggling over lecturer did not give me the marks I was looking for, I had needed to hand in my assignment on time, they're Koinama. They have a thing now, the Inama, who are struggling with Koinama and all those stories. We said, let's bring a space for our guys here, alumni, to have a conversation that is relevant to them. And that's why we said we'll do this separately. And so thank you guys for having honored this. This is the first time we've done this officially. I know in the past we've always done some things on the side just to try. And going forward, Machango is hearing me. Going forward, I hope we can find a way to sustain the alumni dinner, to keep going. He's been very passionate about figuring out how to really meet the needs of our alumni. We have a wide base of the alumni. There are so many out there. We are wondering how to get them together, how to connect to each and every one of them. And every year we have a group of guys who are finishing university, who are part of our groups in campus or have been involved with what we are doing, and they're moving on to the next space in their lives. And some of them get lost. And they just get lost, and we don't know how to really catch them and get them involved still. And so we are intentionally thinking through that, and Machango is thinking through some ideas that we need to put in place so that the alumni force, the alumni energy continues, because we are very sure that in a few years, some of you are already senior friends. Some of the alumni already, we call them senior friends already. There's a term in AYLF we always call senior friends. And some alumni wonder, am I now a senior friend or not? For those who are new to AYLF circles, senior friends are people who can buy a younger person dinner. Senior friends are people who can call a younger person into their office, and the younger person sits and listens. Senior friends are people who have reached another level. And so some alumni wonder, have I reached a level where I'm a senior? I'm a Diana. Diana is insisting she's sticking to alumni. She doesn't want to get to that level. But anyway, so as they continue to move on and build their influence in the various fields, as you've heard, they're in different spaces, we want to continue walking a journey until they reach a point where now they can give back and walk more with our younger guys, hold their hands more intentionally with the younger guys who are coming from campus, and be able to be the people we'll call now as Mary Wanja Maina. I'm the only one who calls her with her 3 names. Mary Wanja Maina, who is doing amazing work mentoring some of our students. And she's already doing it. She's already mentoring. I think the other day, Machango could attest to this. We were in a group somewhere, and the student like, Mary Wanja Maina is the best mentor. And they were happy. They were all confessing how I don't know what you do to them, but there's something special you do to them. And the same was last year. They were saying that you did an amazing job to mentor them. I don't know what you do to them. Maybe you need to share with the others anyway. Anyway, just kidding. But this dinner is meant for you guys to connect and celebrate and network. And we've invited a few friends to come along. Thank you, Dr. Isaac Kaloa, Dr. Green. I keep reminding myself that it's no longer, should I still be using Isaac? Or Isaac now is dropped, no longer to be used. Okay. Dr. Kaloa, always a good friend of ours. Thank you for coming. Mr. Linus Gitai, I know you always come. There's a time in 2016 I invited you, you came, and you sat down, and I think a lot of people who were in that room were amazed that you came, it was evening, you came, you spoke, and you're not in a hurry to leave. And you took a seat and sat down, and they asked you questions, and the questions kept coming and coming and coming. At the end of that evening, it was in Brackenhurst, I don't know if you remember. At the end of that evening, most of them were amazed. I think by then you are still the CEO of Nation Media Group. I think so, if I'm not wrong. They were like, he sat down and was not in a hurry to leave. That meant a lot. It was a simple gesture, but it meant a lot. And thank you again for having you come along. And I know you have some conversation you'll take us through. And of course, a number of us here are going to be coming up here to share their journey with us. And so this time is for us to enjoy, to share, to learn from each other, and at least leave this place with something that can help shape your life for better. Is that okay? And with that, can we now open this? What is supposed to happen after this? With that, I'd like to hand over back to the MC so that he can tell us what's going on. But guys, enjoy the dinner, enjoy the time, enjoy each other's company, and I wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bishop Gabriel. Let's appreciate him. Yes. You know, when you open a church, then you grow, you get a few branches here and there. You know, you go up the ranks. And Gabriel started just like maybe a pastor, how we'd say a pastor with one branch somewhere. And look at him now, yes. So we have so many small groups in the universities. So clearly he's a bishop in the AYLF language, right? So let's appreciate Gabriel once again. So I want to welcome the media team to give us something on the screens. Then after that, so if you're ready, media team kindly. All right, as we wait for the media team, turn to your neighbor once again. Now, tell your neighbor, if you are not doing what you are currently doing, what would you be doing? If you were not doing what you are currently doing, what would you be doing? And even for those of us who are watching, yes, can tell us. If you are not doing what you are currently doing, what would you be doing? All right, thank you. Duncan, where did my other mic go to? I'd like to. All right, let's see. Just sample a few, maybe two from this table. Yes, you can share with us what your neighbor is currently doing and maybe what they'd be doing if they're not doing that. Huh? Yes.
My neighbor would be an author. She loves writing.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give the mic to Diana because she had what Wanja wants to be. It's a weird name. I can't.
Oh gosh. So apparently, there's when you go to those classy restaurants, there are the people who usher you in and make sure that you come back again. They're called a maitre d' or something. That's what you would be interested in doing.
All right.
Yes.
So you just said when you go to those fancy restaurants. So what are you saying about where we are at?
Lanes.
And here we have ushers, Mr. Savage. All right. Let me move to this side.
Yes, I think for me and I'm talking on my behalf and on behalf of a friend, that is Isaac next to me. We both said that if we're not doing what we're doing now, we would just feel totally out of place, because we feel that we've connected with our purpose, with what God has called us for and what God made us for. So once you connect that, you're satisfied. And we just cannot. So in fact, as I said, if I was not doing what I'm doing now, I would be doing what I'm doing now.
Wow.
And it's the same for me. I think it's just a question of connecting, finding out what God wants you to do, and connecting with it, and you feel the utmost purpose and satisfaction.
Amazing. Wow. Let's appreciate him. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yes.
Here, I'll talk on behalf of this gentleman.
Yes.
He says, if you'll not be doing what he's doing now, to your point, he'll be a real bishop.
A real bishop. A real bishop.
Yeah, for him, he's a pensioner. So if he's not a pensioner, he'd be working.
All right. Yes, I know we've been challenged from the responses. Just stick to what you had said. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
My neighbor has said if he will not be doing what he's doing, he will force and be doing it again.
All right.
Oh, my neighbor said that he loves driving the long trucks, and he's very determined about that.
Wow, trucks. Good stuff. Doesn't want the trailers in Kenya. He wants trucks. Yeah.
I have many neighbors here, but some want to be rappers, some...
Rappers?
Yeah,
we'll have a freestyle session.
Yes, and some puppeteers. They just want to enjoy.
All right.
My neighbor wants to be a food sampler. The ones who go and taste the food. Yeah, foodie.
Okay. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, my neighbor would like to be a lawyer. I'm talking of her here. Yeah.
All right. Your neighbor. All right.
Okay, so Rachel, she's director for Infobip. They do telecommunication solutions and software as a service for mostly large banks and telecommunications, all the way to the consumer. Like B2C, right? Yeah.
So if she was not doing what she is currently doing, she will be earning traveling the world.
All right. Yes, good stuff. Okay, appreciate yourselves. Appreciate. Let's hear from, yes, Team AYLF here.
Yeah, so if Joshua was not doing what he's doing, which is now he's a startup guy,
yes,
he will be a detective.
Detective. Yes. Your dreams are valid. Yes. Yes, Mr. Omar.
I have to choose one. I have like two options. But okay. So if she was not doing what she's doing right now, she would be an astronomer. An astronomer.
Hey, wow. Congratulations, Madam Communications. All right. So if I wasn't doing what I'm doing currently, I'd be flying planes. That was my dream. I still want to pursue it, because we've been told if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you'll feel like you're out of place. So we need to tap to our purpose. So Dina is ready, and Emmanuel will help me. Where is Mr. Emmanuel? So Dina is ready. So we'll just do table after table, right? Then we'll proceed. So we'll just have some music on the background. Then Emmanuel, kindly just help us as we go and serve our dinner. So it was blessed as you were starting. So once you serve, you can partake of it, DJ. Yes, and for We'd like to kill two birds with one stone. So even as you enjoy your meal, I want you to give me your ears and your eyes. You can keep the mouth as you eat. So I want to welcome Philip Kimeu, who's going to take us through the AYLF impact story, even as we just continue enjoying our meal. So karibu sana. Guys are eating, so I'll clap for you. Karibu sana. All right, those of us who can clap, let's appreciate him. Good stuff. Thank you.
Good evening once more. As introduced, my name is Kimeu Philip. I have been at AYLF since December 2016 when I was joining campus. So I tend to say that I have been at AYLF for my adulthood. So it's a pleasure that now I am working with AYLF. I run operations, which is not a very easy task. However, this is a brief introduction of AYLF. So the organization, which is now what you're celebrating today, has been in existence for the last 15 years. The major model of operation is it's based in small groups in various universities. So currently we are at 50, we have 50 small group campuses in over 34 universities. What makes us have more numbers of small groups than the universities is the fact that we have some universities with more than one small group. There are universities that have even up to 5 with an average of 15 to 20 students in each small group. So the organization also has other programs. So there is the Salam Mentoring Program Kenya. There is the High School Leadership Development Program. There is the Student Leadership Development Program. So HLD is more of an extension of the university students into the high school. So they're pouring into the high school students as they're being poured on by the various mentors and their conversations in their small groups. Salam Mentoring Program is more of a reconciliatory mentorship sort of thing. So being that we are a Christian founded in terms of the founders of the organization were majorly Christian, so we have a Christian bias in how we speak. So Salam helps in trying to make us more neutral and accommodate more people. The Student Leadership Development Program is a program that goes for 9 months. They are actually graduating during the annual dinner on Saturday. And so they are trained for 9 months. Some of them get in industry mentorship, but most of them, actually all of them get 2 mentors, a senior mentor and a peer mentor. A senior mentor mostly for conversations that they need to speak on, that they feel like it needs a more senior friend, and a peer-to-peer mentor to help them navigate their day-to-day issues. So currently we also have partners. We've partnered with a few organizations, and so we've had other projects and programs that have come up out of the partnerships. So this year we've had the Jibika program. So this year they've been the recent program, they've been focusing on governance and civic engagement. So that's what they've been training for the last 4 months. They also will be graduating on Saturday. And then we've also had the Imara Fellowship. This is in conjunction with the Siasa Place. So there's a training that they go for a number of months. And then now the newest partner is the One Life program. So this also centers and focuses on high school. So our alumni network, which is now 99% of us here, is quite expansive. and it's touching almost every single industry that we have around. And from our estimation and the data that we have over 8,000 alumni who've gone through various programs under AYLF. So the background is AYLF was formed as a collaborative initiative by a group of friends in Africa. It was launched in 2007 after the post-election violence. It was formed so that it could reach students and student leaders to try and change the narrative of leadership that we were having in the country at that particular time. So we recognize the principles and the leadership example of Jesus of Nazareth, who provides a model that inspires and that aspiring leaders from all nations can emulate. Central to his message is reconciliation, personal integrity through transformed minds and hearts, through the issues of critical importance to Africa today. So in the engagements in the small groups that we have in the country, we have conversations, just to mention a few: civic engagement, health and wellness, gender equality, technology, how does social media influence their day-to-day lives, inclusivity and diversity, entrepreneurship, just to mention but a few. So currently, this is an overview. So we are currently at 50 small groups. That is 207 to date. We have a direct reach of 1,000 on the average. We have an average reach of 1,000 students meeting every week to have conversations on the previously mentioned engagements. So SLDP, which is now the Student Leadership Development Program, was started in 2014. So currently we have cohort 9 that's graduating. And so currently we have the highest number that has ever subscribed to the program, which is 33. Last year we had 15, and so as you can see from the chart, there's a sharp spike of numbers. And so yes, so this is a projection of our reach. So we have small groups, so the small group numbers have been rising. When we started, most of the universities had about 8 to 10 consistent numbers on average, and there was actually a point where there was only one small group, which was the University of Nairobi small group. It's referred to as the box. So currently, we have an indirect reach of averagely 200 persons per university. So each small group reaches approximately 200 individuals who are indirectly in contact with our small group members. So when we look at our numbers, we can see that we project that in a few years, probably 6, we will be able to reach over 60 universities. And so we see that we can reach up to 600 indirectly at every single week. So this means that the conversations that are being had in the small groups can be able to reach 600,000 people, especially the youth in the universities, at every single week, because the small groups meet on a weekly basis and have the conversations. So the conclusion here is that we have reached the pivotal threshold where we take off, and we are looking forward to building a strong alumni association, because of course the future mentors of the students will come from us. We also look at growing our partnership base. As you've heard, we are having partnerships with different organizations and having programs that are impacting young people. Then we're also trying to see if we can get a sustainable financial model to run our programs. Ours is to invite you to stay with us, for us, as we grow and develop the organization AYLF. So the call to action is to join us in catalyzing a positive change. And just to read on the last sentence, join the AYLF Alumni Network and mentorship programs today. Your commitment is the key to a brighter tomorrow for our beloved continent. In summary, we are asking you to commit to the alumni networks and to commit to mentoring the other coming generation. Thank you very much for your time. Have a lovely dinner.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kimeo, for that. So next, I want to invite Gabriel, who's going to take us through the AYLF trajectory, that is the strategic plan. So ladies and gentlemen, let's appreciate Gabriel as he takes the stage.
You're allowed to miss a clap because you're still swallowing and trying to balance between a spoon and a fork and a knife. But thank you, Kimeo, for good work. So what I'm going to do quickly is just to try paint a picture of what our growth looks like, our future looks like. And some of these Kimeo had said, but I just felt like I need also to let you know that we are not only in Kenya. AYLF is in Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Congo, and currently there's an interest in Zambia. And I'm having conversation with two young people, there's a gentleman and a lady in Zambia, because they really would like to figure out how to do this in their country. Our vision, which has become very clear to us, is that we would like to see a transformed leadership culture in Africa. That's our drive. That's our biggest why. And of course, we have our values that we go by, and that is, we call it life. And this is drawn from a lot of thought and some principles and values centered on the way Jesus brought out leadership in the broader family of the broader network of the family of friends that we operate under and the prayer breakfast movement. I think somehow something happens at some point. So our focus is in these five things actually. The first one is leadership. And this informs the big part of why we do what we do. Because we'd like to transform the leadership narrative that we experience. And leadership is important. Leaders define culture. You talk of any society, the culture of that society will be defined mostly by the leader, isn't it? If you go to a community where people have guns, the guy with the biggest gun will be the leader, isn't it? And everybody who has a small gun will have to listen to the guy with a big gun. And so culture, leaders define culture, and so we would like to really influence the leadership spaces. And of course, some of our guys are getting into those leadership spaces. Some of them politically, others in business sectors, other in different spaces, they are rising into leadership. Another area is really we realize that there are so many things we could do in this space of young people. And so one key area that also would like to focus on is to how to mobilize resources. And we're working on how do we resource our work. And part of trying to pull in alumni is also this conversation. How do we leverage on our alumni network to resource our work, to make sure that we can do more and be able to get more resources. We have this, we call the full cycle relationship. We'd like to create a path where someone gets to university, they have a ramp where they go through, they finish, they join the alumni, then they join the community of senior friends, and then they're able to now give back to the university folks. And so it's a continuous cycle where there's a relationship. And also the senior friends can also come back and ask a student to come and work in their office or be able to benefit from their umbrella or their network of whichever spaces they are in. And so we'd like to develop a cycle of an ecosystem where people are benefiting from each other. Students from university are joining the alumni becoming senior friends are giving back to the university folks, and the cycle continues. And that's something, and then we would like to set agenda, the policy agenda, and I think this year we've done the Ajibika program, we've done a pilot of it, thanks to Uraia and through Danida. that was able to give us some resources, and we were able to roll that program, and it has worked very well. As you've had, they're graduating on Saturday also, but we'd like to do more of this and also do a bit more research, create a think tank to help us with the research. What are the issues that are trending right now, and how can we shape policy? How can we set the agenda of the kind of conversation we'd like to see? Now, of course, currently we are in 7 countries, and of course, as I told you, Zambia, there's an interest in Zambia so that we can go and also establish AYLF down there. And every now and then we hear all this like, this is good, why don't we have this in this place? Recently I was talking to some guys from Cote d'Ivoire. They'd like to do AYLF in Cote d'Ivoire, and they're keen on that, and they're figuring out what does that mean. Of course, it's French speaking, but then we need to figure out, some of you who speak French might need to help us figure out how do we do all this in French. So I put this figure here because we were looking at our budget, because we have a budget we are working on for next year, and we're trusting God that this works out. Our budget for next year is 87 million. And that is to get everything we need to do done. Now, as I was putting this down, I was reflecting, in our first year, our budget was $100. That was a budget we started with. $100 in 2009. What was the exchange rate in 2009? Right now it's brutal. But what was the exchange rate in 2009? 80, 75, thereabout. So our annual budget was 7,500 when we started. But right now, because of the growth, and you remember, if you had Philip talking about the small groups and all those, if we are able to attend to everything we need to raise this amount of money. Sources of funds, how we see this is, we'd like to figure out how some of the small budgets, 5 million and below, how can we raise that through getting guys to pay, like for you guys to come here. Some of you have paid for this dinner. You guys have paid for this dinner to be here. And so that's part of events. We're asking guys to pay. Universities, when they send their students to our events, they pay a portion of the fee. So that's how we'd like to raise some of these budgets. But of course, for the larger ones, we'd like to look for donors and look for corporates. Like for the dinner that we have on Saturday, we've had some corporates who've come along and have given money. 3 corporates have given money for that dinner. And we'd like to encourage that. And so if you sit in a place where you see, the organization I work in, or the organization I'm affiliated to can partner with AYLF in pushing their agenda, would love to have that conversation with you. Of course, fundraising, we would like to prioritize develop a support culture and a formal process to help mobilize resources. We just want to figure out how best can we do this. And so if you're even seated in this room and you're thinking maybe your contribution to AYLF is to figure out how to crack this fundraising thing, we'd like to have a chat with you. Maybe you know places where we can mobilize funds to do the things we need to do. Of course, ensure that some of the donors we have, the people we know, really come to value the place for leadership. Because some people, you reach to them and talk about leadership, they switch off easily. But I'd like to get them to a point where they can value that and prioritize that conversation. Our key budget areas in plan includes, of course, running our day-to-day operations. We have salaries, we have usual programs, we have to run rent to pay and all those things. But also we have our programs that we run. The small group program, the way it's expanded, it's a huge budget to keep that going. Because every university has a budget, university group has a budget line, and we try to support that budget line to make sure they are able to operate and do the things they do. We'd like to launch new programs. Some programs we'd like to do, like we'd like to tailor make something that specifically targets elected student leaders and walks a journey with them to develop them well, to provide internship for them in parliament. Our friends in parliament are willing to offer internship to elected university student leaders, but the framework of how to do it, because of budget issues, we've not been able to hack that yet. In the new year, we'd love to do that if we get the resources. Of course, establish a think tank. We'd like to build a center, a leadership center. Would really, one day would like to see AYLF Leadership Center. How many guys would like to see that one day? Because me seated here, I'd love to see that happen one day. A center somewhere in some place where we can now be able to use, and we can be able to use that also to sustain our usual basic things going. Of course, continental growth would like to have a van. AYLF van. How many alumni is here who are here knows the struggle sometimes we go through to move people from point A to point B? Duncan is raising his hand. Why are you raising your hand? Because he knows what it takes. Because sometimes we have to take people somewhere and we're going through headache wondering where are we going to get means to move people. But also this van will also provide us, we can hire it out to guys. Guys, corporates have events and they want means of transport. We hire it out, it can give us some money. Hi, hi John Wakio. Yes, so that we can at least generate some income through that. And of course, make sure we strengthen our high school outreach and the Salam program in this too. So that's really just to paint a picture of our desires, our dreams, our wishes. You're seated here as an alumni, you're looking at that, you're like, this is where I can be helpful. I can be helpful. I can join a think tank. I can join a team that helps with fundraising. I can join a team that helps. I know someone somewhere who, if we had a meeting with, would probably open their checkbook and write a check to us. Now, one thing as I finish is we recently changed our registration. We've been operating with a trust. Now we've changed it into a company limited by guarantee. And so we are having actually the new board is meeting tomorrow to start conversation of figuring out how to put structures in place. And some of you at some point as alumni will be calling on you on board to join some ad hoc committees, to join some spaces where now you can be involved in building this dream. Does that look like something the alumni guys would like to be part of? Yes. So don't be feeling like, oh, I'm no longer part of AYLF. Is when you're becoming, the real thing is starting, and we're going to be involving you more as we go forward. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to me. Neb, if you can. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much. Gabriel, we can appreciate him more. Yes, better. Good. All right. So far, so good. I know we've been seated for quite some time, so I want us to be up on our feet. We do something small. I know Kate said the energy on Saturday, she can't bear that, so we just want to do things for our senior friends like Kate. So kindly let's be up standing on our feet. All right. All right, thank you. Now, this is it. So your left hand, yes, put it up like this. Say 1. I bring it over here, say 2. Bring it down, say 3. So let's go 1, 2, 3. Good students, all right. Right hand. All right, say 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, senior friend Kate. All right, so your right hand, 1, down 2, then 3 up, 4 down, 5 up, 6 down. All right, left hand, let me see 1, 2, 3. Hey, my brother at the back. All right, so let me see, let's go. Both hands, 1, 2, 3. Both hands, all right. So 1, right hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all right. So let's go right hand, 2. Yeah, good. 3. Left hand, 1. Both hands, 2. 3. Both hands. Right hand, 1. Left hand, 2. Clearly you are tired. DJ, so I want to teach you. But thank you. This is a coordination thing. Don't sit yet. Yes. One last thing. So I want to teach us a dance. Yes, I know this is, but you won't move a lot. You'll just use your hands. Yeah, senior friend Kate, sorry, once again. All right, when you're ready, my DJ, let's go. Sha and sha. Let's go. Let's go, Mr. DJ. Good students. You are doing good. You are doing good. At least you've learned something new. Warm up now, side to side. Warm up side to side. Let's go.
Where he's, like he said, he invited me in 2016. I had forgotten a few details, but it's always a pleasure to come to a place like this and talk to, or have a conversation about life generally. What I'm going to present, and I've only got, now is 28 minutes, because it was that, right? What I'm going to present is, like I said, I'm a pensioner. I've gone through my career. I started as a trainee executive. Actually, I started as an accountant. I failed, nikashindwa na hiyo, nikafika CPA 2. But I did not try 3. Anyway, I moved on, trainee, joined a company called GlaxoSmithKline. And in GlaxoSmithKline, I worked through the ranks. And I think 15 years later, I was a group CEO of GSK in West Africa. And the reason I'm saying this is because what I'm going to present in the next now 27 minutes is just through the journey that I've gone through, what are some of those things that I've learned, right? So that's really what I'm going to talk about. And everybody has their own journey, and everybody has their experience. So I want to share with you my experience in the journey that I went through up to when I retired. After GSK, I came, of course, and joined Nation Media Group. I think that is when we last had this conversation. And I did that for close to 10 years, 9.5 years. And then I left kabisa, is when I became a pensioner, but went into business. And today, I'm in business, and we'll talk a little about that. Hiyo ni sawa sawa? All right, so I'm going to actually share through that journey. I have distilled it into about 10 or 11 things that I've learned over that period. And you are free to challenge them, you are free to debate them, and I will explain if I need to why it's working. Haya, nionyeshe hii inafanya nini? You know, I'm analog. It's okay, if it doesn't, I can do that. Oh, that is a commercial break. And it basically explains what I do when I'm not at AYLF. And that one too. So, karibuni. First of all, I realize that particularly young people, and I've been young at some point, so again, what I'm talking about is things that we experience. Is this familiar? That you wake up in the morning, and when you wake up in the morning, you report to a job you do not really like, and a boss you really hate. And then you leave work at 5 p.m. or earlier to go home. But on your way home, you actually pop into a pub and find your buddies, quote unquote, because oftentimes what you're calling your buddies are the guys you've just found in that pub at that particular point. But you hang out, and then you end up arriving home at 9 p.m. And maybe if you are married or whoever is making the chakula, you ask for chakula. You ask for 2 things. You ask for food and you ask for the remote. Because maybe Man U is playing or something else. So, and then you go to bed. Feeling tired. It was a really tiring day. And you are generally unhappy. But guess what? The following day, you wake up in the morning. You report to a job you really don't like, and a boss that you really hate, and the cycle continues. That is what I call a purposeless life. And that is why I kind of liked what Cosmos was saying, that what would you do if you're not doing what you're doing? He said, I can't imagine, because I think I've got my purpose. I think I figured it out. I figured why I'm around. And I think I wake up in the morning to live the life of why I'm allowed. I hope, obviously, nobody will put their hands up. But how many people sometimes feel like this? Of course, no one does. But no one does. And we're all probably close to where Cosmo is. But that is not what I want to talk about. As a preamble, because you're talking about leadership, I want to say leadership is personal. The average of your leadership journey delivers who you really are. Why am I saying that? Because we have a tendency of judging leadership by events, or sometimes circumstances, sometimes the things that happened today or yesterday makes us say, this leader is like that. So therefore, it is important to start with the end in mind. What would you want them to say when you're gone, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of where you are? What would you want them to say when you're gone? Oftentimes, that is kind of the most important thing. And I want to give the example of Steve Jobs. Everybody, I'm sure, knows Steve Jobs. If you talk about the leadership of Steve Jobs starts a business, and I had there quite a few innovators here. He starts a company, he raises funds, he sells shares, he even becomes a minority at some point, and then the new owners, the new board fires him. I think he was fired. He goes and starts another company, and then Apple stops doing well. They go back to him and say, we think you're actually not a bad guy. So he comes back, leads Apple, and by the time he died, Apple was the most valuable company in the world, right? It was the most valuable in terms of capitalization, and actually even turnover. Now, why is this important? It is important, A, because I talked about the average of your leadership journey as opposed to events. At that point that Steve Jobs was being fired, he was a villain. It was like, this guy, ni bure kabisa. But when we look back at Steve Jobs, we do not look back at that event that he was fired, or that event when he helped to deliver the first personal computer, the Macintosh, but we look at his journey and say, hey, when I look at Steve Jobs was really a great leader. So maybe this is to encourage us, because oftentimes we go through circumstances that makes us question our leadership abilities or our leadership credentials. Leadership is not measured by events. Leadership is measured by your total journey. So my biggest challenge has been helped by staying faithful to some of the principles that we are going to go through. And I'll try and go through that very fast, because now I have 23 minutes. And they are about 10 lessons. And they are basic lessons. They are basic things I would call motherhood items. First of all, I realized a long time ago that leadership is not about expertise. Oftentimes, we talk about leadership and say, I cannot be this because I did not do chemistry. Or I cannot do this because, remember me, I'm not an accountant. So I cannot even do this kind of stuff. And I want to again give the example of myself. I said I rose from being a trainee in GlaxoSmithKline to being the group chief executive of West Africa. And oftentimes people would ask me, hey, Linus, when are you a pharmacist? Or are you a scientist? And then I tell them, not only am I not a scientist, I am a guy who tried to do accounting and did not quite succeed. And everything else I've gathered along the way. Because leadership is not about expertise. In fact, then I went to Nation Media Group. And in Nation Media Group, I joined as a group CEO. And then the same fellows or different fellows would come and ask me, Hiya, Linus, kwani are you a journalist? And you know what I used to say? Not only am I not a journalist, in fact, this I used to tell my editors. I used to tell them, guys, one thing I urge you never to do is never go on strike. Because if you go on strike, it means I'll be left alone to deliver the Daily Nation. And if I have to deliver the Daily Nation alone, I will use all the English I have. And I think I only reached page 2 or 3. The rest will come out in Kikuyu. And so by the time you're done with your strike, you'll not have much of a paper to deal with. So leadership is more about the vision. Leadership is about helping to manage execution. Leadership is about attitude, and leadership is about gathering and showing direction. That is what leadership is about. And therefore, hopefully, we are not going to say, I cannot do this because I did not do this in college. That is not what leadership is about. The second thing that I learned as I grew up, and I'm still growing, is what my mother used to talk to me about. Because my mother, and I believe all your mothers and fathers, used to talk about this thing called discipline. And I've realized discipline is not this thing we are doing because we are growing up. Discipline is an integral part of leadership. Show me an organization that is not disciplined. Show me an individual who is not disciplined, and I'll show you someone who is on his way to failure. And oftentimes, there is actually a very good correlation. You see fellows who are saying, you know, you talk about Steve Jobs, you talk about fellows who are successful. One of the ingredients you oftentimes find is that they are fellows who are very disciplined. And here I'm not talking about success of 17 billion oil saga, which we led last week. That's not the success I'm talking about. I'm talking about the success of hard work, moment by moment, week after week, somebody who really puts in the time to develop what you are. So discipline works effectively. In fact, you can argue that whenever we talk about even Kenya politics, we talk about what is wrong with Kenya or what is right about Kenya or different things. Oftentimes you can actually distill it into discipline. When you're not disciplined, whether it is in terms of allocation of the resources, if you're not disciplined, whether it's about misusing those resources, all that is about discipline. And when you're not disciplined, chances are that it often leads to failure. And I'll give you an example. Part of discipline is there are many organizations that come up with slogans, and even Nation would be one of them. I plead guilty sometimes on some of these things. You know, we even say we don't bribe, all right? Because we are disciplined like that. But oftentimes, because we do not deeply believe that we should not do that thing, you know what we do? I have newsprint in Mombasa. It must come because the newspaper must come tomorrow. Somehow it must get cleared, but we don't bribe because we are Nation. So we get a child who has a clearing and forwarding company and ask him, how much will it take? I need this thing by midnight in my plant because the paper must come out. You know what a child will tell me? I normally charge you 100K. Hey, but this one you have to pay 300. And basically he's saying, he need to toa chai. Then you say, you go and do that. You know, I just need, but we don't do what? As we don't bribe, but we facilitate. And it will never appear in our books like we did that. We just say, Achara is actually quite expensive. Maybe we are going to look for another guy. But you know, so the other thing I learned, particularly now that I heard there are people here who have organizations, there are people who are leading other people, there are people who've started their own companies. One thing I realized again along the way, I said there are only 10 things, is getting the right people on the bus is one huge imperative in terms of if you want to succeed, it is important that you make sure that you've got the right people on the bus. And oftentimes people, and by the way, this line is not original. It is an excerpt, a line from Jim Collins, who's written the book Good to Great. But the thing about getting the right people in the bus is several. One is you assure yourself of optimal performance. Because if I'm an accountant, maybe I'm the CEO and I'm an accountant, I need to get the best production manager there is. I need to get the best marketing guy there is. I need to get the best salesperson there is. And it is the total of those that creates an efficient organization. But oftentimes, we ourselves do not do that. Because I want to get Cosma, because Cosma is my buddy, and I feel safer with him, because Cosma is not going to argue with me, we come a long way. This is just an example, because Cosma will argue with me a heck of a lot. But the thing is, we want to actually do that. And actually you should reflect even now in the business you're doing. How many of the people you've actually recruited are genuinely, you can put heart on heart and say, I got them because I believe they are the best for the task that I have at hand. You'll be surprised that if you really interrogated yourself, you find that you may not necessarily have done that. But you see, when you say get the right people on the bus, what does a bus do? A bus moves from point A to point B. Let's say it's going to Nyeri. It starts from Nairobi, it goes to Thika. When it reaches Thika, two things happen. One, there may be a guy who is offloading in Thika. And there'll be another guy who might be getting in Thika. That is important in an organization. And what I'm talking about is constant review about our performance. Even if you're a small organization, constantly review about your performance so that you are saying, sasa vile maneno tumekuwa, Thika, you are writing. I know you're not going to Thika, but you have to write, because the way we are moving in this bus, we may not, as long as you continue doing what you are doing, we may not even reach Muranga. So it is important that you are right. And as you are right, it is important that I get another passenger who is probably going to be more agreeable, maybe hear your lead, more able, who is probably has the right attitude, who is probably better hardworking. This conversation in my journey, if I look back, I think is one of the weakest things that I used to find amongst my managers. My managers, and I think this is a general thing about life, my managers will always want the good news of getting him on the bus. But they are very reluctant to get her off the bus, because we generally do not want to be carriers of bad news. So we'll tolerate mediocrity on one hand and sometimes get somebody into the bus on top of mediocrity. And mediocrity times mediocrity equals more mediocrity. So one of the things that you can do as young leaders is really do be strict about the people you have on the bus. And there's one more reason why it is a good thing, a real story. There is somebody, again, because we used to do, particularly in GSK, we used to do appraisals every 6 months, end of 6 months, and at the end of the year. There's this fellow I did appraisal for nearly 2 years. And the kind of feedback I was giving him was all the same. But I used to joke with him and say, you are a politician. But I meant it in terms of, he's a sort of guy who, if he starts here, he'll be surrounded by most people. And because of the story he's taking. But when you look at his performance, he's always like last in terms of that performance. So I used to say, you are a politician. You know what? At some point, when we reached a certain point in our journey, I told him, now it is your turn to exit the bus. And he was not happy. But actually, by coincidence, the guy went and stood as in his local constituency, and he became an MP. He went on to become a 2-term MP. So when we met, he was saying, Gita used to tell me I'm a politician. You know you are right. But when you were having that conversation, it was not amusing. So it is important that we agree that we are all fearfully and wonderfully made, but oftentimes it might be important to say, but I don't think it's for nation. We are all fearfully and wonderfully made, but maybe not for GSK. I think you probably need to try because everybody has a purpose. I think Cosmo talked about that. Everybody has a reason for being. And oftentimes, what we are doing in this life is we are in endless search for purpose. Some people find it. Some people go through this life without finding it. And if I can help you to find your purpose by firing you, I will. But if it is the right thing to do, because it's not just waking up in the morning, it is actually talking about our appraisal, it's talking about the objectives, it's talking about where we've reached, it's talking about this is the stuff we talked about last year, and it's talking about, therefore, it is important that we separate. Many times, if it is genuinely done, it is actually beneficial on both sides, because you set out on another journey to seek what you are really good at, if it is properly done. And when you talk about right people on the bus, these are not the folks I'm talking about. I'm not talking about these ones on the right. Because, again, we define the right people on the bus as the guys who are able to follow us without questioning. The right people on the bus are the guys on my left. They may be diplomatic, but they have the courage to dissent. When I say that, I know Cosmo will argue with me, because Cosmo will not just take what I say. Cosmo will say, yes, Linus, I see where you are coming from, but have you considered? That's the kind of conversation we'll be having with Cosmo. Have you considered this? Yes, he is my follower in that sense, but he has the courage to dissent. He wants to corroborate, and he brings into the party critical thinking. And it's not the guy. If we do that, then you have the right people on the bus. I'm taking your performance for granted. The next thing is that number 4, if it has to happen, it is up to you. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if I ever came close to being fired in an organization, It is because of this. Because you go into a board meeting and you agree what should be done, and the next board meeting is maybe in 3 months' time. And now 2 months have passed, 2.5 months have passed, we are on the last week. And then I'm sitting there, probably in bed at night, because the board meeting is tomorrow. And I'm just wondering, I gave that task to Diana. That's Diana, by the way. I gave this task to Diana. I don't know whether she's done it. And now it's actually midnight. I can't call her. And this meeting is tomorrow morning. So I say a short prayer, and I go back to bed. Now, if it has to happen, it's up to you. And that talks about, as a leader, it is, I say, delegate by all means. And that is important. But delegation, but be clear about the action standards. There is a fine line between delegation and abdication. The one I've just described is abdication. I gave it to Diana. I don't know whether she's struggling with it. It was supposed to be delivered 3 months later. The board meeting is tomorrow. I'm the CEO. The board will be asking about me. And now I'm annoyed with Diana. I shouldn't be annoyed because delegation gives you an opportunity to coach. Delegation offers you an opportunity to mentor. Delegation offers an opportunity to say, yes, Diana, you do this. At what point do you want us to check in? Maybe 2 weeks? Let's talk about it in 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, how are you doing with it? When you do that, then even by the time the board meeting comes, you'll not be struggling at night and saying, I don't know what happened. And chances are that because of that mood, even by the time I engage Diana, we are likely to be quarreling. So monitor, do not just hope. And by the way, in this thing about delegation and blame games, you can tell, at least I can tell, if I walk into an organization and start asking for, Mr. Karua allowed me to use an example, especially because you've not invited me to your organization. So he'll not say, is that what you saw? If I come to the organization and I've asked, where is Mr. Karua? Huyo hata leo haja kuja. You immediately tell the kind of organization it is, right? All you're asking is, where is Mr. Karua? And they're already showing some emotions about the state of the business. Right there, from the conversation of how are you, right? So it is important. But in an organization where there is that relationship of delegation, which is an opportunity to coach and mentor and guide, people have different relationships. In fact, my CEO in GSK, it was called Ian Leshley, used to say, if you're not keeping score, you're just practicing. He was a top 20 or top 10 tennis player. And you know what happens in tennis? Before the referee blows the whistle, if you watch people like Serena playing, they hit the ball at each other, they're keeping on hitting the ball, and they are such good friends until the referee blows the whistle. And then when you see those aces coming through. And he says, if you're not keeping score, you're just practicing. The next one is, and this is, I think Mr. Karua, you'd like this one. I say, in fact, I did not, because I'm dealing with young fellows, I did not, there's a word I removed at the end there. I normally say, it's about the shareholder stupid. Because oftentimes, and think about this, when you go to an organization, people will talk about customer service, and guess what? Customer service is very, very important. People will talk about other stakeholders, and guess what? Those stakeholders are very important. We'll talk about employees, and guess what? Employees are very important. Let's be honest with ourselves, and please be honest. When did you last talk about a shareholder? When did you last talk about a shareholder? Shareholders are not in our lingua. Shareholders are those animals or fellows who thought about an organization, brought it, you're employed, but somehow they'll get along. Shareholder is a guy who spent a sleepless night, and I'm glad this team that said we have the organization, the innovators. These are people who are right now in your organization. You are spending sleepless nights wondering how this thing is going to break even. You are spending a sleepless night wondering how it is all going to come together. But as you grow, we stop talking about the shareholder. Yet, in my experience, again, If I ever came close to being fired, it is because I never paid attention to the shareholder. Because if I, this year maybe instead of growing, I reduced my turnover or profit by 10%. Next year I'm projecting to reduce by 5%. I'll be fired. And sometimes we don't think about it that way. I think it is important that whatever we do, suppliers are important, customers are important, the community are important, all these stakeholders are important. But let us never forget this guy who spent, and I think they're in this room, who spent sleepless nights in a very lonely place thinking about how this organization will come together. It is important that day to day in our relationships, we think about this fellow. The other thing I learned as I went through my journey is that politics matter. And when I say politics matter, am I saying that now all of us become the next member of parliament? That's not what I'm saying. Are we saying that now Mr. Achayo, instead of becoming a bishop, goes and becomes a governor? That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, and again here I'm calling for honesty. How many people here in Nairobi, because we are all living in Nairobi, right? Most of us? Is that correct? So how many of you, and here is a moment of honesty, how many of you know your MCA? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is what I mean. That today, in what we call devolution, the guy, we sit in a place, maybe in a kebab somewhere, and you're talking about, hey, ile barabara ya kwenda kwetu bana. I mean, look at the potholes, man. And we even have a drink. But the thing is, that road that leads into your estate no longer belongs to the national government. That road, the guy who will do it is that guy you don't know. But guess what? At the end of the month, in fact, around now, today is 30th, right? Your casalo has already been chopped for that thing called tax. It's already chopped. And it is going to that guy that you don't know. It is going to that guy you did not even vote for because you did not even vote. And he is deciding about your health. You know the last conversation in the last 1 month or 2 months was about which way forward for health. Social security, this 2.75%, that car road with potholes. Yet, when it comes to voting and all those things, we don't pay attention. In fact, many of us, that is the opportunity we have because it's a holiday to travel. But politics matters. And that I say, even when you talk about tribalism, when you talk about those things, it is not. We say, our politicians are so tribal. Our politicians encourage tribalism. No, they don't. I think we are the ones who do it. Because the professionals we have in this country, like yourselves, are in hundreds of thousands. Do we agree with that? The politicians are about 300 or 400, or if you add the other, maybe 3,000. But we are hundreds of thousands. What are we doing? How different are we because we are not politicians? Or is it just easy to criticize the politicians? In fact, I remember when I was in Nation, I got challenged I used to have what we call all hands meeting. And I got challenged. And I was saying, you're talking to us, what have you done? And I realized actually, I haven't done anything beyond being a CEO of Nation. The only other senior position I held in society was chairman of our local cattle dip. I'm serious. Because I have 2 or 3 cows. Now, it's when I realized that even me, I'm actually an agent of tribalism. In the sense that the CEO, group CEO of Nation Media Group, is somebody who does more than just being a chairman of Teto cattle dip. So I told those guys, actually, I've just decided that I want to do something in Nyanza. And remember, that is the time we had just come from a post-election violence. So a young man came to me and said, I have an idea. Come to my village, because in our school, in our secondary school, we are looking for a board of directors. And I think you can do. I said, I will. When are they meeting? He told me next weekend. I said, I'll be there. The school is called, just in case you come from that village, it's called Denga Secondary School in Ugenya. So I went. And I went to Denga. They received me very well. We talked about a strategic framework. We agreed what we needed to do. We started doing them. We built a dormitory. Deep huko Ugenya, hadn't been there before. We bought a school bus. In fact, I remember even helping to pay the deposit at Isuzu. But the thing is, and then we created a sister relationship with more Equita girls, which is closer to where I came from. Then, when you look back, then you say, you're not just talking about tribalism. Those kids did not know about tribalism. When they came to Equita, they would sleep over. And when the more Equita ones will go the other side, they will sleep over. Guess what? Those ones, on both sides, it was the first time, let's say those kids in Low Nyanza were going to Central. And the Central ones, it was the first time they were going to. Yet, when you talk about tribalism, you'd think that there's a Luo who is living in your house. Or you think there's a Kikuyu who is living in your house, because we get influence instead of becoming our own agents of change and realizing that we are actually all the same. Now, I think I have now very few minutes. The other thing is we must become good corporate citizens. Becoming good corporate citizens means we must create wealth, obviously, but we must also share in the wealth. And one way that you share in the wealth is ensuring that A, you pay your taxes. And there's a difference between you paying your taxes and talking about what the taxes are doing. Like now we're all saying, huyu Ruto anafanya nini na hii tax yetu? But we have to pay the tax because it's important. What Ruto does with the tax is a function of your vote, right? Yes, what Ruto does with the tax is a function of your vote. If he does a good job, next time you wake up very early and ensure that you vote for that member of parliament, that MCA, that president. If they don't do a good job, please wake up very early and make sure you vote them out. We are actually, in Kenya, we are lucky. We are actually in a very democratic space. But we must pay our taxes and then ensure that we put those guys to task. And also, we must also be generous. For those of us who have been given, and I like Mr. Karua because he's a very generous man. For those of us who've been given, let us remember there are so many people, even who are not able to have a plate of food today. My father told me he knows no one, and he died at 90. He knew no one at that age who had ever become poor because he gave. If anything, he was saying the contrary in his life was true. Those are just examples of some stuff he used to do. Then culture matters, and I don't want to talk about this because who talked about leadership and culture? Is it DJ? Oh no, it was Achaya. I agree with you completely. Culture matters, and I think in the organization that you are starting, in the organizations that you are trying to nurture, ensure that you drive that culture. Ensure, and what is culture? The simple definition of culture is how we do things around here. How do you do things around here? How do you do things around your organization? What are the interrelationships between the teams in your organization? A good culture will foster innovation. A good culture will foster a sense of ownership. It is possible, you go to an organization and you can also tell an organization where guys are waiting for 5 o'clock to leave because they're not invested. And it is important that if we really want to drive an organization that will succeed, that you pay attention to culture. That stuff we did in Nation, where we actually gathered and talked about, from a culture point of view, what is our formula for success. And it ended up in a booklet. And for those who may want it, I think I still have a couple of copies somewhere in my little library. Finally, we are getting to number 10. Finally, integrity and transparency. And I think those are sure tickets to a sustainable future. I'm standing here, ladies and gentlemen, in front of you, having said I worked in GSK, and at some point we were working with Cosma. Cosma was our consultant on the other side. I worked in Nation. Nation is a very public company. If I did not have integrity, if I did not have those things, I will not stand in front of you today. So those things are priceless. That you can come here and you don't know people and say, siwewe, Gitai, siwewe dio, and then I can slowly start. Ati unatuambia nini? In fact, even now I'm hearing the questions, you know, that could arise. But that is very important. That having that integrity, having that transparency is not an act. It is not an event. Integrity should be a way of life because it's the only way that you can guarantee the future. For like saying, what does it profit a man paraphrasing that famous part of the Bible. For how does it profit a man to accumulate all that ill-gotten wealth if you cannot face your children? I know somebody, a politician, who the son walks up to him, it's a true story, and says, "Dad, we've been in the papers for rather long. I didn't know we use the same surname. So we've been in the papers for rather long. I know you are doing this because you really want us to have a good future. Please stop. We are going to look for, we are capable of fending for ourselves. We are going to work hard. We are going to make it. You do not have to steal. We don't want to be seeing our name. See, you know, if my kids are called Getahi, you know, it is, my daughter is called somebody Getahi, you know. So we waking up in the morning and seeing Getahi, Getahi, Getahi. Wachana na kuiba tafadhali. Can you imagine your kid telling you that? Because we are okay. We don't need those resources. For what does it profit a man to do that if you cannot face your children? Number 10, finishing well. Again, you must have the end goal in mind, and that is how we started. Finishing well means that for me, and I think Bitage Demo once captured it very well. When I was in Nation and I was standing here presenting to you guys, if I looked at my phone, Mr. Karua gave me the phone. If I looked at my phone, by now it would be having over 10 messages. Actually, it doesn't have any right now. You can see, you know, I've not, maybe a message, but I've not missed a call. Now, that can cause you a crisis because you are used to being called. You are used to be a very important person. Somebody is calling you to ask for this. Maybe a politician is calling you and telling you, I hear there is this story, nataka kuona wewe. Nobody calls you. The only ticket you have into the future is when all those things are filtered, and then you look at there at the bottom. What passes through and what you take at the bottom is who you really are. That is who you really are. And ladies and gentlemen, as we start and do all the things that we're doing, particularly in this group of young leaders, let us remember that the end game is about finishing well and ensuring that what you do is something that will stand the test of time and you're not worried about this or the other. Oh, there were 11. That I was saying there's a time for everything. Because time is much spent, I want to leave you with that quote from Laugh Imelda Watson, who says, to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to know that even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. That, ladies and gentlemen, is to have succeeded. And that person ends up finishing well because you focus on the right things. Asanteni sana, but there is a prize for somebody who can guess who is that chap on top of that tree. Eh? Ah, yeah, you got it. I thought there was going to be a bit of a struggle. We were having a bet with my daughter. We were in Masai Mara and saying, if a lion comes now, what would you do? She said, I would run. Me, I said, I would climb a tree. Then she said, but Dad, you can't climb a tree. So that is how that photo was obtained. So asanteni sana, Mungu wabariki, and thank you. Thank you once again.
All right, good stuff. Let's appreciate him once again. Yes, I hope you are taking notes like I was. Yeah, so I want to welcome another group of amazing people. Yes, our alumni. So let me have the 5 seats, please. Yes, Kimeo. Yes, in Spanish. Debe Vilaitano. Yes, that is Spanish. Yes, yeah, panelists. All right, good. So help me appreciate the following people. Joshua Nyantika. Yes. Kate Njau, let's appreciate her. Mary Wanja, Lucy Monyenye, and Mr. Lon Felix. Karibuni sana.
Good evening. Thank you, Linus. That was priceless. I think sometimes it's very refreshing for us to be seated on the other side and hear some of the nuances and the things that you're saying, because we are just starting to go through those phases of our lives. So maybe we'll start with a very brief introduction from across the 4 lovely panelists here. I'll moderate the session. And then, so we start with a very brief introduction. I know we had already gone through this, but just your name and what you're doing currently.
I'm Joshua Mokua Nyantika, and I'm here because I run a startup called Pixangu, and that's a photo sharing platform. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'm Wanja, Mary Wanja Maina. I'm currently working at Kenya National Debate Council. I'm in corporate management by profession.
My name is Catherine Zhao. A mistress of many trades, but currently a translations project manager working with Flexword translators and consultants in Germany.
My name is Lucy Monyenye. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. My main engagement is as a legal counsel and privacy consultant with AYLF Kenya. AYLF owns MTIBA, the MTIBA platform that some of you probably use when you go to hospital. But in addition to that, I run a couple of legal focused consultancies, just basically providing legal solutions.
Thank you. And my name is Felix. I currently work with the UN as a National Development Advisor. Let me start by asking Joshua a question. So you are in startup, and you've been this is how long? How many years down the line?
3.
3 years down the line. What's your biggest headache?
There are several. It can't be one. Yeah, but the most is just planning and making sure that the execution happens, so that when I'm planning on financing, when I'm planning on launching, it happens on time. So that's a challenge it's been.
And how often have you along, the last 3 years felt like maybe I should have taken a job?
I'm not sure to answer that, because I also do work with the prayer breakfast, and also work with a senior friend, Charles Muiti. So I already took the job.
So it's an interesting balance that you're trying to strike, and I think this is one of the critical things that pop up as we go along. Just most of the people in this room are creative minds. They want to create, they want to go out there, do something, but then there is also the reality of, how do I meet my most pressing needs and all that. And the next question to Wanja is, you're currently working with Debate Council. Tell us about AYLF, how it has impacted you up to where you are, and how is it reflecting in your own professional journey as you grow up?
Right. So even before I answer that, I'd like to mention something about AYLF. My current job and my previous job, I got them both through AYLF referrals. So I remember my previous job, someone was talking to Emily, and they mentioned that they were looking for someone, and Emily said, oh, I know this lady. And she forwarded my name, and they asked for CV, and I got the job after the interview. My current job, same thing. Someone posted actually on the group, and immediately Gabriel responded, talked to this lady. The person hit me up, we did the interview, and I got the job, and eventually I've rose through the ranks. I'm currently the ED, the executive director at the organization. And so for me, AYLF has been a place of connections. But over and above that, one of the biggest lessons that anytime I'm tempted to go off, I can hear AYLF at the back of my mind with all the sessions we've had. There's always the conversation about integrity. And that has featured severally throughout my last, 12 years of working. And those moments where what the previous speaker was talking about, where we don't bribe, but we can outsource a briber. Those opportunities are real and they do happen. But I have caught myself, especially in the recent past, I have caught myself severally having to step back and think, oh, wow, I will not, if I go this way, then I will not have the moral authority to be able to sit in an AYLF setting or in front of AYLF people and speak, because as Gabriel had mentioned, I'm enjoying mentoring as well. And so at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, if I know this is what I'm doing behind where I have authority, when I go mentoring the other ladies, I will not have the moral authority to do that. So for me, the lesson on integrity, I have really heavily picked on that in AYLF, and there has been, for it to be that important to me, it's because in the past, in the previous jobs, there has been those moments where my bosses did things off the right path, and it costed us. In the previous, I have even gotten fired based on my boss's lack of integrity. And so when I think back to that, I made a decision as Wanja, as someone who has actually had the privilege to have an extensive conversation around integrity in AYLF. That will be my practice for life. And so for me, that's what AYLF means to me.
I think we all have to be proud of such a stance. And I think with a few more of those, that's how we change a country, right? When Kate was introducing herself, she described herself as a mistress of many trades. And maybe when you're writing your resume, you say you have how many years of professional experience so far? As a first question.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite a number of years.
So, okay, so the question that I have for you to start off, Kate, is how easy was it for you to start, and how clear were you when you are transitioning from school into professional life about what you wanted to do? Is it the same thing you're doing now? And just paint for us how that journey has been so far.
Okay. I'd say my journey has been very interesting, painful, exciting at the same time. So I studied, my undergraduate was in business IT from Strathmore University. And as every graduate back then, you know, after school, you start looking for a job within the same industry that you've studied. I was lucky enough that I got a job in one of the then big tech companies, and as a trainee, where I rotated throughout many departments, and I finally settled in project management. So out of that, I continued pushing myself towards the IT industry. And as Linus was talking, the cycle, the first slide that he put up, I was tempted to raise my hand, because that was me for 7 years. It took me 7 years to understand or to learn that IT was not my space. My space for IT was only very short-lived, probably the first 2 years after school, and then after that, I needed to venture and find myself. So throughout the 7 years, I struggled a lot in the companies. I was lucky enough to go from company to company, and my peers would be like, oh, Kathy, you're very lucky, you get job after job, but internally I was struggling. I used to be at loggerhead with my bosses. I used to be in a space where it was very male dominated. So as a young lady, most of the times people look at me and say, you don't know what you're doing. And the imposter syndrome. And the mind and the tongue is a very powerful tool, as I came to learn, because every time I'd sit and think, I was like, oh my goodness, you know what? I will not last in this job. And for sure, I did not last in those jobs. So in 2019, I lost my job. And that was a very big blow for me, because I stayed out for 6 months. And within these 6 months, I was like, okay, now, fine. Deep down, I know IT is not my space. But I was always and constantly like, oh, no, I have studied IT. I don't want to disappoint my parents, because they took me to a very expensive private school. I also studied an MBA in Daystar. So, I did not want to disappoint them. So throughout these 6 months, I really struggled to find, okay, I was really not scared, but I was not struggling, but I was scared to push myself to starting something new. And then that's when Gabriel, put my name somewhere. I was able to work with one of the AYLF senior friends. And out of that, with the connections and the networks, I found the strength to now venture into non-IT firms. And I came to realize that my strength, yes, is in project management, but not in the IT space. I took a stunt at the NGO world. The contract was for 1 year. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but again, I was like, nope, that is not for me. Then I moved to education, where I had been for the last maybe, say, 3 years, where I was now putting my MBA education into practice, which was strategic management. I set up a whole organization. It's up and running in Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda. And my stunt there was finished, because after that I was like, okay, fine, I have done that. Now what next? Then during now, the networking, talking to people, different industries, and also understanding how the world is evolving, especially with AI, I was like, let me try out something totally different, something that is not even, I would not say it's in the African market, because what I do, I work for a language service provider. And what we do, we're in the business of translations. We translate literally anything and everything from one language to over 200 languages. But the thing is, I do not speak any other language other than English, Kikuyu, and Swahili. Yeah? Okay, well, a little bit. But I manage the process. Yeah? So I went out there, put in my CV, I went into an interview. I have no idea what that industry does, but my confidence and my core was project management, and that is what I sold myself. I leaped myself in that situation, and now I am thoroughly enjoying. I am in a space where, I did not study any language, yeah? So it was just a matter of doing a lot of introspection and learning what are my strengths, what is my passion. Not to say that my education was not for anything. It set a base, yeah? Everything that I have been through is leading me to where I am right now.
Today.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I think, so Kate says a couple of things, and Cosmas and Daktari, if you get an opportunity to speak, I think one of the biggest question that we struggle with is what she referred to as an imposter syndrome. So you have in this room extremely gifted young people, and that gift occasionally gets you to a table where you feel like, am I really deserving to be here? And that thought, at the back of your mind can really, really nag you and become a distraction. So how do you just, work around that and all that? And then she also, concludes by saying, at some point, all these skills, essentially come to count for something, right? So you can feel distracted, you can feel disjointed, but over time, the whole picture essentially comes to fall into place. Wakili, I would be calling you learned colleague if I went to law school. But I studied my LLB and I didn't go to Kenya School of Law. but I took very keen note in how you described what you're offering to the market, essentially. So I want to ask you about what informs you to specifically not describe yourself in the traditional sense a lawyer would describe themselves, but in a sense like you're offering solutions, to the commercial space. I believe that was your introduction, right? So what is informing you to distinguish yourself in that manner? And if you can comment on that.
Okay, so okay, let me start far back. In 2014, I think, with AYLF members, we went to Arusha, to Cornerstone Arusha. I think you were there.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. And then when we were coming back, I wanted to go to the East African court. So I called them, they gave me an internship opportunity. And then I was also part of the SLDP program, I think that same year. So AYLF introduced me to Mr. Muridi Wanjao. So he's been part of the reason, the thinking behind most of the career changes I do. So what has happened traditionally is when I came back after the internship before my graduation, we were having a catch-up meeting before our SLDP graduation. And then I told him, I keep getting a call from a law firm called Anjarola & Kana. What do you think? So he says, go there, and what's the longest time you can spend there? I was like, 6 months. Internship is usually the longest is 6 months. So he says, go there and try do the maximum best you can, because it was the top corporate commercial firm in East Africa. I think it still is. I went there 6 years later. We are having this chat. I was still at Anjawala. And then I was seconded to a client. Then I went back to Mr. Moridi. And I was like, so there's this opportunity that I'm being given, but I don't know what it is. You know, I'm so used to giving advice and letting the clients figure it out. So and then he says, will it hurt you to take it? Because after that 1 year of secondment, you'll go back to the law firm. So I was like, okay, sawa, let's do this. Then I ended up having the best year of my life, because I was not just giving solutions. I was not just giving people memos and telling them, go sign this agreement and effect it. It was me who was interacting with HR, finance, figuring out how to maneuver the taxation laws every time the Finance Act comes out, figuring out how to run disciplinary actions within the organization, following through corporate governance after board meetings and all that. So I ended up enjoying it. And then right about that time, I also had a few certifications added to my name. So my title kept adding so many things to the end. And then one day I met Mr. Moridi, and he asked me, can you think of one sentence that can give anyone you meet a brief understanding of what exactly it is you do? So then I sat down. I was like, okay, so I'm a lawyer. I give legal solutions, but I enjoy doing it to businesses, primarily in corporate commercial environments. So anything corporate governance, anything to do with how you're running your business day to day, that's me, you can come to me. But anything about going to court, yes, I'm qualified, I can go to court, but I do not enjoy that. So that's how I started saying that I give legal solutions to in the corporate commercial space since 2019, and it's sort of stuck. Yeah.
Amazing. Gabriel, the one thing that for me is coming out very clearly from this conversation is that AYLF has an extremely unique story that we haven't told. And I think we need to find a way of telling that story. Because across all the 5 of us, we can, in one way or the other, ascribe where we are to being part of this movement, and in a manner that is very compelling. So I think we need to find a way of bringing that out much more clearly. And also, I had a lot of questions to ask, but that guy there is telling me I have 3 minutes to wrap this down, and I'm going to respect those 3 minutes. So allow me to please request all of us to just say our concluding remarks. But as you conclude, this is such a cliche question. But for me, I always go back to this question because in as much as it gives me an opportunity to reflect about the past, it also speaks to my future, right? So looking at your journey, from when you transition from school to where you are, what do you think you would do differently? And how does that inform, the way you're looking towards the future, and then you make your concluding remarks? Please, let's keep it to a minute, so I'll use 5 and not 3. There's really nothing you can do about it. You're not going to chase me out of there. Thanks.
They say what comes to mind first when you hear a question is the most correct before you start editing, so they have more time to change their first idea. Yeah, but for me, it's I can't say I'll change anything, to be very honest, because I appreciate the journey that it has taken to get where I am. AYLF is 70-80% of what has happened to bring me here. And it's through the conversations we've had, it's through the networks that I'm where I am. And I acknowledge that it has helped me to kind of narrow down to the things I can try to do. Because I remember when I was doing SLDP, we were going through the 7 habits of highly effective people. And the speaker that day, I think it was Coach Stone, was talking about how I was concerned mostly about being a jack of all trades, but a master of none of those many things, because I used to do so many things. But to just narrow down to what I do best, which is to provide solutions, and different from Kathy is I'm more focused in the IT space. Yeah, so that's how I was able to narrow down to what I can do best, and also through the networks to start actually doing it. So I'm not yet there, but I'm on that path.
All right. 2 things that I would do differently. One is quite personal. I know it works different for other people, but I don't think I would take a job while I was still a student. I did that. And looking back, not that it was a bad thing. I got the experience, thankfully, but I think I would hold off to first finish work before, because at the time the job was nowhere in my career lineage. You were taking a job to make money for the weekend. So it only ate into my school time. But then that's personal. As I said, there are many other people who work while they're still at school and it aligns with their career path. Or maybe I would be more intentional with my career path when picking a job immediately after school or during school. However, the other thing that I would do differently, what she has talked about, that it took her 7 years to sort of have an idea of, or realize, okay, I studied this, but this is not working, this is where. I know it takes time. It's not something I could have figured out on year 1, but I feel like if I was more intentional at focusing on my strengths, I can see from year 1 how I was better at a certain kind of management than another line of, accounting and stuff. So for me, that also took me years that I think could have taken me less years if I was more intentional with my career choices. I believe it was focusing especially on my strengths, because they were very clear from the beginning. Yeah, I was just fixated on the book, the paper, the script, what my academics are saying.
Interesting. For me, would be to take more risks, more calculated risks, of course, especially during the very first years of after campus and looking for a job. I think I would have, if I take more risks, probably I would have discovered more about who I am, my strengths, my passion, and the like. The other thing I'd do differently is read more, because I have discovered in the space that I am right now, a lot of conversations are informed by, the kind of things you listen to, the kind of conversations you're having with people, and what you're reading. Yeah. So I think I'll read more so that even when you're having conversations, it opens up your mind to learning more and getting to understand at least where is the world going. Yeah.
No, I was just double checking the question because I have another point that keeps coming to the front of my head. So I think I have really enjoyed the life I have lived, the little professional and social life that I have lived. But being where I am right now, I wish I rode more just after, during campus and just after campus, because I had more free time. I could have just done more riding then before responsibilities kicked in. Oh, I ride motorbikes.
Interesting. So thank you so much. Question. This is as I wrap up, sorry. I asked that question to a retired African heads of state sometimes back, and he told me he had none. He told me he wouldn't do anything different. And what he told me was, along his journey, he's made mistakes. He's had missteps. But every moment when he was doing it, he was really giving it his best. And the totality of that is what made him who he is. And so he doesn't have to regret or change anything about the journey. And I think that is where I'll stop, that, you know, all of us as we are starting, as we are getting into the mark of professional growth and all that, we have occasionally you take a job, you resign, you do everything, but the totality of it is what matters. And in the moment, as you make a decision, make the very best out of it. Thank you very much for your time, and really appreciate it.
All right, good stuff. Thank you very much. All right, you can turn to the person next to you and share with them, what are you passionate about? Yes, very quickly. Share with the person next to you, what are you passionate about? All right. What is your neighbor passionate about? All right. So the good thing with AYLF, we have everyone, we have people in the industry. So at this point, I want to welcome waheshimiwa. Yes, tell your neighbor waheshimiwa. So help me welcome Jacqueline Waithaka and Muthoni Mboro. Tafadhali makofi mazuri wakija. Aya, waheshimiwa harakisheni waheshimiwa. Yes. Wahesh ndio hawa sasa. Yes. All right. But now waheshimiwa, tafadhali tusikizane. Unaona ameanza hata hajakaa. Yes, karibu. Yes. The innovators, they innovated the mic. Oh, sorry. All right. So you'll introduce yourselves, then mtaongelesha wananchi kidogo. Hizo dakika nimewaambia tu.
Asante.
Yes.
Asante kwa kutupatia fursa hii. Mnaona hii fursa. Habari yenu nyote? Mko salama? Kwa majina, my name, Fabrice, I've just remembered, we have internationals in the house. My name is Muthoni Mboro. What else? We tend to forget instructions very quickly. So my name is Muthoni Mboro. I am a lawyer, soon to become advocate. I've seen so many advocates in the house. Yes, I just went back to school briefly and did my bar exams. I just finished the other day, and I'm so happy about that. Yeah, otherwise, apart from that, we've been asked to talk very quickly. I'm happy to be in the presence of so many amazing young people, and also for our seniors who are here. It's really humbling. I don't really see what is very important that I have really done, that I would be the one on this side. But I've had, it is a genuine concern that people have always had, feeling like you're, we even came with a masquerade, you're masquerading in spaces. And especially when those platforms are so big that you tend to think you are so small or so inferior that you should not belong in that space. I am happy to be even before Lon Felix, who served as the president for Kenyatta University, where soon after he had left, I joined and I vied for Secretary General position, which I was elected, and I was happy to win that beat. And it has been an amazing journey from iyo maneno yote until now. We did the Azimio campaigns, which I was happy to sako kwa bako work with Honorable Martha Karua and Raila Amolo Odinga, even though you guys, you did what you did. Yeah, probably by now I would have been, security would be outside there, yeah? Kwa sababu CAS ako hapa ama PS. But we thank God with all that happened. It was really, really an amazing journey. Choppers here, left, right, and center. Now we've gone back to Futsubishi and running around and being a common mwananchi. See, we did all that, but we are happy with the Kajani. Maybe that could be a brief introduction of my political journey, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much.
I mean, let's appreciate my colleague better. Thank you so much. My name is Jacqueline Waithaka. I joined AYLF in 2014, like mentioned. I was a student leader at Multimedia University of Kenya. And soon after graduating from the Multimedia University, I joined the political race in 2017. I ran for the position of Member of County Assembly in Madeira constituency. That is where, who knows who comes from there? That's where our deputy president comes from. So, and my journey then was, I was really green out of campus. And what motivated me to want to run back then is because I believed in myself. I had come for the AYLF SLDP, and there we learned to believe in ourselves. We learned to have a vision. I was really ambitious, and coming from campus, I didn't really have the resources, I would say, because I mean, all I did was step out of the classroom into the field. In fact, during my announcements, I did it on my graduation day. That's when I told my people that, you know what, you've educated me. I'm very grateful, and I will come now to ask for your votes and work for you. And you know, I was selling the vision of we want educated leaders. Mmenipeleka shule, mmenisomesha, sasa ni wakati mnipatie kazi. And because my name is Nyawera, I used to tell them, Nyawera, no wera. In interpretation, it means that Nyawera is a hard worker, and really I will be a hard worker once you give me your vote. Unfortunately, kura zangu haikutosha. But there was a good that came from it. So immediately after the campaigns, a lot happened, but I had gotten networks from the campaign because I was in the same campaign trail with some of the governors, some of the MPs who won, you know, the political class. And I had sold an idea of a learned leader, somebody who had gone to campus and done a degree in finance. And so even in my name was Nyawera wa Finance. So once they went to parliament, to their various legislatures and their areas of leadership, they remember that, you know what, there was a lady who was educated, maybe we could try her out. And that's how I got an opportunity to serve and also practice in my career. I don't know whether in finance we call it practice, but yes, so I got to an opportunity to serve members of county assemblies in the County Assemblies Forum, which is a coordinating body of the 47 county assemblies. The primary mandate of CAF is to promote networking and synergy among the 47 county assemblies, promote intergovernmental relations, and also enhance good legislative practice. So I've gotten an opportunity to work with the leaders and also see leadership from a different perspective. And I will always thank God, because now if given an opportunity to run again for a political seat, I would do it differently. in this way that now I would be seeking to have an impact, to just leave a legacy so that I'm impacting lives, and so that even because politics is 5 years you're there, 5 years somebody else is there. So you must really utilize that opportunity of leadership you're given to have an impact on a child or on a family, on a people. So for me, I have learned to see it differently. And if I was to maybe give an advice to a young person who would want to venture is, number one, you must be authentic, because I've seen that people want to see authenticity. Your true self will sell rather than, wanting to be somebody you're not. You must also really believe in yourself and be passionate about that thing that you want to achieve. It must come from really deep within yourself. And number three, you also must educate yourself. If you want to be a politician, you must also be savvy of really what is going on in the political space. You must be able to engage in a conversation that, if you are on a table of politicians, that you would engage at the same level. So you must really keep educating yourself on such matters. I've been given 5 minutes, so I don't know if... in a nutshell, that has been me in my political career. Doesn't mean that it is a full stop for me. I'm growing. I've learned that I see your hand. I'll do it short. It is a learning curve. I still think I'm in the cooking pot. It is almost ready, but not yet. So I will, when a person speaks and I'm able to relate with that person, I will want to have more conversations with that person, to be mentored. It's a lot of mentorship. So I'd say maybe 10 years from now, God willing, I will be back, of course, more polished, more educated, more ready to deal with the world, and of course having stabilized myself in probably a family, because I've realized also, trying to build a family and you're also in the political, running these campaigns, you must also strike that balance. So especially for women, it's really, you must plan for it. You must have like a work plan on how you're going to get it achieved, and of course, win it. So in my closing remarks, I'd want to leave a quote that has got me going over the years, is that a leader is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So you must speak, you must speak you must walk your talk. So thank you for this.
Yeah, so Musa gave me 2 more minutes, just a question, yeah? So every time I meet maybe a young person who's tried politics, they say, I'll come back, I'll be back. You've said 10 years, right? So why 10 years? And probably now, for you, what would you do differently? Maybe the next campaigns.
For me, 10 years, because like I mentioned, this life has many phases. I'm in the phase where I need to also start thinking of a family. I'm still a single woman in the... So I need to have my own family so that it is all balanced, so that I'm not focusing on one area and leaving the other. So in the 10 years, I will have maybe my 3 children, stable, in, at least they are in an age where I'm able to leave them and, go for the long campaigns, and they are also continuing with their education. Yeah, and happily married.
Well done. What were the questions again? Okay, So there's just a lot to say, and to narrow it down to 2 seconds, 2 minutes or less becomes very difficult. But maybe just to say my journey with AYLF, it has been a really, really beautiful journey, which started in 2017. Then when we got elected, and we went to AYLF Kenya, we've gone for prayer breakfasts in East Africa. It has really been a good journey, because it really gets to open up your eyes and to build your friendship, and you know, just to get to work together and have a family that you feel you can really rely on and get the support. It is very important. And maybe just for the other thing, future projection and maybe some of the challenges that we faced. Indeed, it is a very, very tough space to pierce the ceiling. But I believe once you have just started, eventually you get to get a safe landing. It is not easy, as I've heard even in other spaces, because apart from just being a politician, there's also the, you know, career space that we are also trying and working hard to also pierce the ceiling. So it is something that it's a journey, and we get better every day. We improve every day. Our confidence gets built every day with every encounter that we have. One of my favorite Bible verses from the book of Genesis is God, who am I? And it was Daniel, I think, who was asking. I hope I'm not wrong. I don't want to become like our number one who keeps on giving us verses from here, left, right, and center. Lord, who am I, and what is my family that you have brought me this far? And I hope that one day we will be able to say that, yeah, with great conviction, when we are able to live through our dreams and we have been able to succeed at what we do. So very briefly, that's how I'd like to sum up. Thank you very much, and we really appreciate for giving us this noble opportunity. God bless you.
Thank you very much, waheshimiwa. Yes, you may. Yes, my personal assistant wako. All right, so as we clear the stage, you know, it's very interesting. So last year I was also in that journey of politics. So my area MP, like the current MP, yeah? So what he did, so he never put any posters. So we were wondering, is he vying? Is he vying? So for the fresh people, you'll know when someone is fresh, and you'll know when someone is a veteran. So for the fresh people, clean water, education at your doorstep, you know, 10 things. So our current MP just came, put up a poster. It was written, Aladwa ni wetu. Eh? Aladwa ni we? That's it. Yes, he's the MP. Ni wetu. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate Dr. Kalua Green as he comes just to share a few remarks with us. Karibu sana. Yes. So for the young politicians, yes, and Dr. Kalua, I'll come. Nakuja JITAP sasa. Naona huko ni kuzuri, si ndio? Huko kwingine walinipea character development.
I'm excited this evening. Excited because I have been given what to talk about. I have questions that have been asked by you, and that is all I'm going to talk about, so that we try and keep time. And before I continue, is just to appreciate the leadership, the founder and the team members of AYLF. You may never know how proud I am of you. Never. But albeit the fact that I may not be able to say that, allow me to repeatedly so and say that I love you people, I love what you do, and that is why there is the testimony of the people that I was working with around me. I work with young people throughout, and I just whipped them, and before I whipped them, they had already planned to come. And that is why you see a whole table around there. It is because of how much I love you that when we were forming the most unique party in this country, I chose to ask the leader of this organization, give me an AYLF member to lead this organization, because it's not about me, it's about what is the future for this country. That's how I hung around with Lone Felix. When I had other people that we had professional openings, that is how we have Brian. I know there are about 5 openings coming up, and I can assure you, unless there is no one to fit the bill in my AYLF, there will still be an AYLF member and team members. I love you guys. My first question. So I'm asked, who is Dr. Green? And I am guided here, and I was warned ahead of time. Nikaambiwa useme ukweli. Hawa ni watu wanataka kuambiwa ukweli. Sio story ya kuangalia kwa huko. Inaitwa nini siku hizi ile watu wanachungulia? ChatGPT, sijui nini. Tunataka vitu za ukweli. So here I'm told, here share about your journey of growth, especially from the point where you are ready for employment. Who is Dr. Green? It's not just by imagination. My name